These guys, it's not for the world.
It's already on, so go ahead.
Okay, my topic is forgiveness, and my fear is that there will be absolutely nothing new for anybody, but here it goes. So the topic was forgiveness is good, and it ended up being forgiveness is good but not easy. So forgiveness is considered almost as important by today's mental health community as it is from the viewpoint of Catholic Christianity. I'd like to take a look at the ways in which the two approaches supplement each other rather than conflicting with each other. To represent the Catholic Church's perspective, I'll be working with two Bible translations and the Catechesis of the Catholic Church. For contemporary mental health perspective, I'll be relying on an article written by the Mayo Clinic staff and published in their Healthy Lifestyle section. As Christians, we often see forgiveness as a should, as something we do because we've been told to. Modern psychology approaches it a little bit more like a need. To quote from their article, unforgiveness can lead to chronic stress, which is linked to a host of health problems, including cardiovascular disease, weakened immune function, and mental health disorders such as depression and anxiety. The act of forgiving can alleviate these stressors, leading to improved physical and mental health. So from a mental health perspective, unforgiveness is being examined not so much from the standpoint of sinfulness, but of pathology. Perhaps both camps could say of brokenness. So, okay, let's say that we forgive others in order to let the other guy off the hook. But by the same token, we're liberating ourselves. Quote, when we forgive our neighbors, we free ourselves from a heavy burden. That's not from the Mayo Clinic, that's Thomas Aquinas. So as Catholic Christians, we strive to forgive in obedience to God, but God always seems to have our back, right? A quote from C.S. Lewis, though, everyone agrees forgiveness is a lovely idea until they have something to forgive. Next question, as presented by our Mayo Clinic staff, what happens if I can't forgive someone? Some of their suggestions: practice empathy, be aware that forgiveness is a process. Even small hurts may need to be revisited and forgiven again and again. My experience. Sometimes forgiveness might even lead to feelings of understanding, empathy, and compassion for the one who hurt you. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or excusing the harm done to you. Acknowledge your emotions about the harm done to you. Choose to forgive. Forgiveness can be hard, especially if the person who hurt you doesn't admit wrongdoing. If you find yourself stuck, try these. This is excerpts. Write in a journal. Pray. Meditate. Talk with the person whom you found to be wise and compassionate, such as, for instance, a spiritual leader. So there is a point at which some of these guys are sending people back to us. Incidentally, just as a mental health professional might suggest a talk with a spiritual leader to one of her clients, a priest or spiritual director may encourage a parishioner to explore the idea of seeing a counselor or therapist, especially in those cases in which the injury to be forgiven is a particularly traumatic one. This does not mean that the priest thinks that his parishioner is crazy. It just means that your priest knows that he is not a psychologist. Next, Christianity is forgiveness, nothing more, nothing less. That's from Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a Lutheran theologian. So as Catholic Christians, let's start by looking at the Lord's Prayer, identified in the Catechesis of or for the Catholic Church, as the summary of the entire gospel. To quote directly from the CCC, all the scriptures are fulfilled in Christ. The gospel is the good news. In its first proclamation is summarized by St. Matthew in the Sermon on the Mount, the prayer to our Father as at the center of the proclamation. The liturgical tradition of the church has retained St. Matthew's text, that is Matthew 6, 9 to 13, Revised Standard Version. And I've got something written twice. Okay. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. That's where I usually send up a little side prayer like, could you please forgive me a little better than I'm forgiving other people? But so if we look at the New Revised Standard Version, it's also used by CCC. It was published in 1989, so it was able to take advantage of Dead Sea Scrolls and other archaeological finds and input. So there's some differences between the two translations. In the new translation of the lines we're looking at, the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread, forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And do not bring us to the time of trial, but rescue us from the evil one. So it's in past tense. So it's not only as we forgive our debtors, but we have to have already forgiven people as well as we expect God to forgive us, which I called concerning in my notes here, because it's, a tall order. Matthew 18, 21 to 23 is a forgiveness passage we are all familiar with. It ends with, and in his anger, the master handed him over to the torturers until he should pay all his debt. So, not only does he have to pay back the whole debt now, but he's supposed to do it while he's being tortured. What does that remind you of? So, anyway, not only does he, I've read that already. So next up is Luke, also from the Sermon of the Mount. We're enjoined again to forgive, but a little more gently. Pray for those who treat you badly. Treat others as you would like people to treat you. If you love those who love you, what credit can you expect? Instead, love your enemies and do good to them, and you will be children of the Most High, for he himself is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. And again, Luke's rendition of the Sermon of the Mount, Luke 6:36, do not judge, forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and there will be gifts for you, a full measure, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing will be poured into your lap, because the standard you use will be the standard used for you. Moving from Jesus' own words to letters of St. Paul, we have, I don't know how to pronounce, Colossians 3:12 to 15. As the children of God then, the holy people whom he loves, you are to be clothed in heartfelt compassion, in generosity and humility, gentleness and patience. Bear with one another. Forgive each other if one of you has a complaint against another. The Lord has forgiven you. Now you must do the same. Over all these clothes, put on love, the perfect bond, and may the peace of Christ reign in your hearts. For it is for this that you were called together in one body. Again, what do we do if the perpetrator reoffends and reoffends again? And, well, you get it. I mean, there are incest cases like that on the horrific level, and then there are just annoying people at the other end. So we know the answer to that. It's also a familiar one. How often must I forgive my brother if he wrongs me? Not 7, but 77 times. And so we must ask God for help. So in Matthew 7:7, we are reassured that in asking, the son who asks for a fish will not be given a snake. And when our task appears humanly impossible, we can turn to Matthew 19:26. By human resources, Jesus told the disciples, this is impossible. For God, everything is possible. That's it. Thanks. Thanks.
Did anybody want to add or ask a question or any comments?
I did not learn everything about this topic. There are a few things that I did have to cut when I had to go from like 2 hours to 10 minutes. I did cut some things. Well, thank you.